Well, hello everybody. This is Spot of Nerd with number three in terms of this podcast thing. So hopefully I'm doing this right. This one might actually be a little bit shorter depending on how much I ramble, so you have to bear with me. But I wanted to kind of get some things off of my chest, and you're gonna have to bear with the terminology I use because I'm going to have to use hypothetically a lot. For example, long story short, the way the world is, I think we can all agree things are different. And I think if I can speak only for myself, life can definitely get frustrating. Whether you from your work, whether from your family, everything in between. So, what I kind of want to just talk a little bit about, you might be thinking to yourself, where the hell did this come from? Discrimination. And let's just say, hypothetically, there was this company that, it kind of prides itself on not being discriminatory and wants to be diverse and inclusive. And I would probably say that's most, if not everybody, every company, every business out there. And what I'm finding lately is what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in terms of the American flag. And for those of you scratching your head, it's something I've had to kind of come to face with. And what I mean by that is, does the American flag really offend you? Do you see that flag and go, wow, that is a horrible thing. That country is horrible, the people are horrible, its policies are horrible, so on and so forth. So I would say if it does offend you, you have every right in America to have that feeling. You obviously, as a human being, have a right to have that feeling. But I would also maybe try to get you to think a little differently in terms of, well, it's the American flag. Not only that, but kind of bouncing back to the business side of things. Hypothetically, most businesses, most establishments support veterans. They support the military. They support those individuals that serve this country, the American country, the United States of America. And I would hope, if anything else, you know, that continues. So when you put the two side by side, the American flag and veterans, to me, it kind of goes one and one. So, again, lately with this discrimination factor and the hypothetical aspect that it might be considered offensive to some, and it's genuinely a discussion now of whether or not it is acceptable to, let's just say, wear out. Maybe if you do have a job and you wear a hat that might have an American flag on it, is it discrimination? Not only is it discrimination from wearing the hat, but isn't it also discrimination for me not to wear that hat? So hopefully, we're gonna conclude this portion of this episode before I go on to some more nerdy stuff. But the reason I'm talking about this is because, as you've seen in some of my most recent videos and some of my most recent discussions, I'm most definitely not hiding it anymore in terms of, I am very pro America. I support this country more than most of its citizens. And I'm not even a citizen. I'm actually a UK citizen. I am here legally. I have gone through the proper channels. I have a green card, I have a passport, I have all the correct documentation to make sure that I am legally here. I'm also even in the process of becoming a dual citizen. So I am very, you know, positive towards America. And you know, I wear the hat and I sometimes wear hats that have American flags on them. I'm proud to do that because I'm proud to be here. Is America perfect? Absolutely not. But it's just interesting lately. A lot of the discussion now in terms of, again, outside of said companies, so much of the world is talking about inclusion now and diversity. But yet, the moment you bring up something like the American flag, there's a big X. There's a big no, 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 you can't do that. So the question again I have for you for this episode, for you to kind of contemplate, for you to think about is, well, if it's discrimination towards wearing that hat, isn't it discrimination for me not to be able to wear that hat? Because again, I actually support that flag. So it kind of goes back to that individual basis of, well, if one thing offends you, doesn't mean it offends me. It's no different, again, for example purposes. Just because you might not like Star Trek doesn't mean I have to not like Star Trek. They're not going to cancel Star Trek because you don't like it. The world moves on. So, again, just a thought. As you can imagine, I know I'm probably dotting around the words a little bit for my own safekeeping. As I've mentioned, I am employed, and you do genuinely have to be careful these days what you say. But I also think at the same time, as much as you have to be careful, I also think we can have a discussion about it, hence a lot more transparency with these Spot of Nerd episodes. And though you might not have a clue what I'm talking about, if you dig deep enough, I'm assuming you can probably get where I'm going, specifically with this episode revolving around the flag and whether or not it might be on a piece of clothing or a tattoo. And I think it's, in conclusion, it's just a bit disheartening because again, it's hard to put into words without being blatant, but it's really sad that we're having to discuss this because in my view, it shouldn't be it should be a no-brainer. We support the veterans, we support the military, but the flag is a no-no. So it's kind of, I guess the word coming to my brain, counterintuitive, if that makes sense. I could be completely wrong, and I fully admit that, but I hope you're not afraid to wear and be proud of this country, just as much as I have tattoos of the UK flag, the Great Britain flag. I have tattoos of Great Britain on my arm. God save the Queen. May she rest in peace. Does that offend you? You know, just because, I mean, let's be real. I will even admit Britain does not have the most pleasant history. So, should I cover up my tattoos? Specifically the English flag? Does that offend you? Or maybe the Millennium Falcon? Again, maybe you're pro Star Trek and you're anti Star Wars. So, should I cover up the Falcon? Cuz does the Falcon offend you? These are just some questions to kind of really ponder specifically around these issues lately. And I hope it changes. I really do, because again, I am extremely proud to be here and I'm extremely proud of the freedoms given to me under the law. Um, the amendments, the First Amendment, obviously, I've spoken before about Second Amendment. I do believe in your ability to have a firearm for your own safety, for your own hobbies. We all have different passions. Me would be this Spot of Nerds. So, without me going down a rabbit hole, just again, I would just tell you to think about it today in terms of, is it discrimination to wear a article of clothing that has the American flag on it? I would say no, because again, when you wear that American flag, you are telling, hopefully, you're telling yourself and you're telling the world that you are proud to be an American. You're proud to be an American citizen or an American immigrant, whatever you might be. I hope you're proud of it. You know, a lot of men and women have sacrificed their lives over the decades, the centuries, to make sure that you have that freedom to decide that flag, whether or not it is discrimination, to whether or not it is offensive. That's something else to think about. So hopefully, maybe even just chatting with me in person and through the comment sections, whatever you might be, if it does offend you or if you do find it discriminatory, I don't even know if that's a word. Perhaps you can maybe enlighten me a little bit. And I mean that. I don't mean that in a silly, ironic way. I do genuinely believe if it does, I would like to know why. And I'd like to know, perhaps maybe you can kind of give me a little more insight to your viewpoints, if that is the case. And in turn, obviously, with all due respect, hopefully you can listen on my side as well. Because, being officially not American, how is it I am more proud to be here? You know, it's something it's not really spoken a lot out loud. I'm sure behind closed doors, there are many, 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 many people out there that have huge amounts of love and respect for this country. So I kind of want to just be hopefully that maybe that little peek, that door opening to get you as well, maybe to kind of open up a little bit more about how, you know what? No, I am proud of this country and I'm proud to be here and I'm proud of what we are, and hopefully in the future things will turn around for the better. So, anyway, if that went on for rambling purposes, I do not apologize because again, frankly, it's just me opening up conversation. I have no ill will towards anybody's viewpoints other than the fact that, hey, this is mine. Odds are it's probably going to be different than yours. It's going to be different from what the mainstream media is telling you. And if there's a problem with it, then let's talk about it. But let's talk about it respectfully and let's talk about it in a human sense to where nobody has to get upset or weird or angry and everything in between. Right. More fun stuff. What have we been watching lately? Oh yes. So if you haven't watched in the past, they're on season 3 now. Lego Masters is back on. They took a little bit of a hiatus, but again, such a fun show. It is still mind-boggling to me that just the incredibleness of Legos, what you can do with them. But now that they have the show, it is actually really cool that they have a competition reality show too. So if you really do want something fun to watch, I do encourage you to go watch Lego Masters. Um, what else has been on the ticket? American Gigolo. The main star in it is the Punisher, John Baratheon. I don't know how to say his last name. The dude that plays the Punisher, the dude that plays Shane in The Walking Dead. He is, as the show title is, he is an American Gigolo. He's caught up in this murder cover up thingamabob, spent 15 years in jail for an innocent murder, yada, yada, yada. Really good show right now to watch. It's on Hulu. I think its main channel is on Showtime, but again, something incredible to watch if you haven't already. It's first season, so super duper great. And gosh, there's other stuff I need to actually keep getting on. Speaking of Star Trek Lower Decks, which is a cartoon series, super fun. Again, something that if you are more in tune with like the Family Guy Simpsons stuff, you will definitely enjoy. Imagine the Simpsons and Family Guy meet Star Trek. Very, very cool show. So you would enjoy that if you like those kind of flavors. Other stuff that I'm gonna be starting, hopefully getting into in the near future, what is it called? Pennyworth is on HBO Max right now. They just hit their 3rd season. Pennyworth, of course, is Batman. It's Alfred, and it is a story based on his beginnings, how or who he was before he became the infamous Alfred, to Bruce Wayne. So I'm gonna be starting that up here pretty quick, and then I'm gonna be ending Peaky Blinders. I'm gonna do probably like a whole maybe spiel on Peaky Blinders, but if you want one of the greatest shows ever on television, Peaky Blinders is that show. I Even right now, I can't even give you the words on how amazing that show really is. It's set back in the early 1900s. These gangs protect bars and the government, and they infiltrate the government, and truly some of the greatest story writing you've ever seen in your entire life. If anything, I would almost recommend you go and watch it 3 or 4 times just to try and understand it a little bit more, because many, many times I've had to actually go back and, if anything, reread recaps to try to understand what the hell I just watched. So you can imagine the in-depth detail they go into with that show. Beyond that, I'm just thinking in my brain. This is what's actually, I think, again, this is what's really cool about doing more of the audio version podcasts versus the edited YouTube channel episodes, is because, again, I can tell you ums and ahs, and it doesn't matter because it's podcast, so I can say whatever the hell I want. And if you're still listening, sweet. If you're not, then hey, you're not. Whatever floats your boat. So, you know, I hope you're enjoying it. I really do. It's kind of easy, it's nice, it's casual, and there's a whole bunch that we can talk about. There's new shows I'm still haven't caught up on yet, and that's just going to be for more future episodes. Super duper excited about that. So, anywho, I will wrap this up because I obviously have been rambling on just a bit much. But I do appreciate you for listening, for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, everything in between. That is, of course, Spot of Nerd. Please continue to do so in the future, and we will chat with all of you next time. Later, y'all.